Hello and welcome to Heroes of Might and Magic free video. This is Headhunter, your favorite nobody. I'm around 600 rating player from Czech Republic and I'm going to show you my game on the template called Duel with Stygian1, who is a very famous YouTuber also from the Czech Republic. Duel is lately my favorite template. It's the action template. It's Heroes of Might and Magic replayed with only one hero and 1 minute time limit. In this channel, you're going to see only, I would say, only videos played on this template because due to family reasons, I have unfortunately no time to play standard games, Jebus Cross and similar templates, which can take around 4 or maybe even more hours. So Duel is ideal because one game takes 1 hour. Sometimes, if it's played until the last available day, it can take up to 2 hours, but that's only rarely. We're going to start with a trade randomly, and there has been chosen two fractions, Rampart and Fortress, and we're going to trade for it. In this trade, we bet against each other a starting amount of gold, and we should know which fraction is the best. So Fortress is considered the best on Duel template. So as you can see right now, Stygian betted 2,800 gold, and I accepted the bet, which is maybe a little bit earlier than most players would do. But I'm very comfortable playing Rampart. I like this fraction a lot, and I would recommend to all the beginners, all the noobs, all the starting players to learn, maybe starting to learn Rampart. It's, I would say, one of the easiest fractions or towns, as you would call it. So then we bet it for the color, and I accepted 600 from Stygian. So I would get 3,400 more gold on the first day, and he would get the same amount but less. I would say he got it quite cheaply, but it's okay. As I said, I want to play Rampart, and my starting hero is Aerys. If you wonder why Iris, it's because the specification of this template favor casting heroes and scouting skill, which wasn't that popular on the standard maps, but on Duel it's essential. And also Iris has the biggest penis of all heroes from Rampart, so mostly it's the penis, but also a little bit of the scouting too. Um, As a starting bonus, I choose Artifact. Most players in most fractions choose Artifact. Only few fractions are so demanding on resources that it is recommended to take resources, and Fortress is one of them. I would say Castle, maybe Castle too. Resources, wood and ore are very much needed. As Rampart, wood is very much needed too. It's basically the most important resource after gold, but you cannot choose this bonus. As Rampart, you can choose only crystals, and you don't need crystals. You don't need to buy Pegasi. And even if you want to buy Pegasi, of course, Pegasi are great. You could usually find resources. The artifact starting bonus is a lot better because you can get, for example, some knowledge artifacts or necklace +1 speed, something like that. It's very useful in this template, or basically in any template. But the knowledge artifacts are the best in this template. So we're starting in the bunker, which is underground, and it's a very tiny starting area that consists ore and wood mine, and also the golden mine. The golden mine has a specification of guard that always joins to you, but always for money. You should be careful. It usually costs between 3,000 and 6,000 gold, Some units cost even more, like Familiars, Walking Dead, maybe a few more exceptions. So you have to have enough gold, or the guards will flee from you, which is not the end of the game, but you will lose the starting army, and you'll have to start from scratch. So we both restarted the game. Each player has one available restart. Uh, so I guess none of us liked the initial bunker position, so we restarted. This bunker looks quite okay. I have available all free traveling spells, scrolls with spells, but it's a little bit short on knowledge. Only +2 knowledge. There is also the +3 or the third building that is in the corner, but it's so far away that I already know that I'm not going to take it. So I'm going to leave the bunker with only +2 knowledge, which makes 4 knowledge. That is not so much. So I'm going to spend the night in the gold mine. So I save a few moving points, and then I have to decide whether I take the ore mine or I go just straight out from the bunker. My starting bonus artifact is speculum, or how do you call it? It's quite okay. It's not as good as knowledge, but it gets a tiny bit more vision, so this is much needed. So as you can see, I opted to take the ore mine, which is basically not something I would do right now, but the video is a few weeks old. It's a great game, and I just wanted to show you, even though it's a few weeks old, you wouldn't notice if I didn't tell you. It's of course the updated version. We always play the updated version of Duel. It's 269L, if I remember it correctly. So I'm going to leave the bunker in day 4, which is like standard. It's a good standard. Sometimes the bunker is so horrible or you messed up a little bit, so then you have to leave on day 5, and this is not very good for tempo. Leaving bunker in day 5 is not very good, but of course it's sometimes you have to do it. Leaving day 4 is okay, but this bunker I could leave in day 3, I think. If I skip the ore mine, I could leave a little bit earlier, and skipping ore mine is very fine. Playing Rampart, it's very fine, and I should have done it. So this is a little bit mistakes. Maybe if you wonder why I'm telling you this and not doing it in the picture, then I forgot to mention that these videos of mine are a little bit special in the case that I make the commentary after the game. When I play the games, I usually have to concentrate. I'm not able to talk fluently, and I make mistakes when I talk and play. So I'm playing the games in silence, and when the game is really good, I make post commentary and analysis after. So it allows me to retrospectively look at the game and point out what was good, what was bad, and hopefully me and you can learn something about this game. So immediately after leaving bunker, there is a town in the corner always. So I took it. It was a little bit of a detour. I didn't use my dimension door. It was too short to use the dimension door, but it was a little bit too long for just walking. So it's like I saved all the mana, but no, not ideal. And the next day I saw that I probably won't be able to take my main rampart town in day 5, which is quite unfortunate. Maybe if I'm not sure if I was able to take the rampart down one day earlier. I maybe don't think it was possible. I would be still a few moves short. So I opted to take +1 spell power. Not very important, but It's just that I decided to use my moving points. I took the spell power, and then I'm fighting the griffins for Pandora box. All the Pandora boxes contains army, so you can always be safe taking them without your book of spells, spell book. It's like this on this template. Always gather army from the Pandora boxes. Great thing is that it was quite heavily guarded for my first Pandora, and it contains 25 Grand Elves, which is best possible outcome. Experienced players could almost always tell what army is inside the Pandora just looking at the guard. Um, and another great thing is that I have both of the most important magic schools that early on week 1, and I didn't have to buy School of Magic in Conflux. So the first was Earth, and I already got it advanced, and then Air. This is basically the best possible skill tree on my hero, so that's a little bit lucky. That's maybe this is very lucky. With the casting heroes with the casters, you usually get one good magic, but then it's quite random. Sometimes you don't get the second magic you need, and you have to get the conflux down, which is always in your biome, in your starting area, and it's I would say always in the fixed position, which you could and should learn from the web page where you downloaded this template. There is a picture that shows you the position of all towns in your biome, so you already know which direction you should head to get the conflux. And in conflux you can buy School of Magic, which is really useful building for for buying magic. Well, because you cannot play this template without earth and air magic. You just need both of them. For traveling purposes, you need Town Portal, and you need to cast Dimension Door twice a day and fly without penalty. So I would say the first most important magic is the earth and then the air. But it's like both. You need to have both of them. You need to use the traveling spells. You need to move a lot because you have only one hero and a lot of space to cover, a lot of things to take. So basically, it's very important to learn what things you can skip, what things you should skip, and what things are essential for your game plan, or how to call it. So I have all the magic I need. Right now I only need to level them up. I need to find some army. Hopefully playing Rampart is always about elf stack and dwarf stack. And if you're lucky, you get some Pegasi too. So this is 50 dwarfs. That is not bad, but the guards were quite strong. It was Minotaur Kings, but also we have to take into account that they were guarding the external dwelling for trees. Trees, personally, I don't like them that much, but they are very useful in utopias. Every biome has one utopia, and obviously you shouldn't take Grand Elves in your utopia. And when your power stack is Grand Elves, you don't have much other army than Grand Elves. You simply cannot beat the utopia. But if you have a decent stack of trees, suddenly you can fight the dragons. So it's obviously not good to just travel to go into dwelling of trees, but I would say almost always, you should have one or two boxes with trees in your biome. Those would be the heavily guarded ones. But sometimes you can get a very poor biome that has no level 5 creature box. I didn't think it was possible, but it is possible. I saw it myself. So I captured my fourth town, it's tower, and in this position, tower means that the mid section, the mid treasury zone, would be also tower. So I can maybe prepare for that a little bit. Tower is very good tower is very good midtown because there are a lot of giant external dwellings, and there could be some boxes with giants, and they contain 8 giants, and if you are able to upgrade them into titans, obviously you have suddenly very powerful stack. So tower is very essential if the game goes late game. Basically, this map is planned out in a way that even the player who doesn't control the mid should have a chance for win. But if the mid town is tower or maybe castle, and the player who controls the mid town gets some titans or archangels, and the other player cannot get them or get so much of them, it's basically decided. So with tower in the middle, it's really about who can hold the midsection. And fortress is quite slow in breaking. Fortress is not a good rushing fraction. So I would say I should get to the middle first. The question is if I'm able to keep it, because fortress usually get a good stack of wyverns, especially with the hero specialist Bronghild, and they also can get a few gorgons. Those are very dangerous creatures. So this box contained 20 trees, not bad. As I was saying, I don't like them that much because they are not that useful in other fight like this. You can see I'm fighting against, again, ranged units. It's very hard to fight them and don't lose so much because they always attack your elves or sometimes the other weak units. But it is what it is. They're guarding 2 boxes. Those would be very weak, I would say, 2 Centaur boxes, but it's okay. Plus 70 Centaur captains. That is decent. You can use it in all the various fights, and you can always use them in Utopia too. 100 Centaur captains, not so bad. So I'm still missing the last town in my biome, which is the Conflux. I'm not really sad about it because I don't need the School of Magic, and I was able to get some good boxes. It's a 3rd day of the 2nd week, and I think my army looks very good. With Force Field, if I get few more elves, I would be able to break, but I'm not looking for rushing my break. I know that Stygian plan usually is to stick in its biome for a little bit longer, and then go to the mid with a powerful army and basically either defeat the opponent or make him leave, and that is very painful for the opponent if he gets to mid first. For example, start to build the mid town or get a few dwellings and then is forced to leave the mid section and leave it to his opponent Stygian. So I know I don't have to rush the mid, and I know that it would be better to get a good army in my biome, which means get a lot of dwarves and elves. I will definitely need the elves to shoot everything, and dwarves are good because they have 40% resistance for spells, and basically all the encounters with your opponent that are not very late with very big armies comes down to one thing, and this is chain. There are a few spells that are not available in this template. For example, implosion. There is no implosion in this template. So the second most powerful spell in the game, if you can't count the damage, is chain lightning. You can get the orb of air, 50% more, and basically it's all about the chains. The only exception is if the game gets really late and the armies get so big that even the chain doesn't do much. So in this case, it's better to cast something like Berserk or Mass Prayer or even Shield, than make some sacrifice, very useful spell, and so on. So in this turn, I was forced to briefly Town Portal in my main. It wasn't because I needed the 7 elves, but it was because I ran out of mana. Basically, this template is hard because you have to plan your turns very carefully, and you should never get stuck somewhere, basically anywhere, without mana. You should almost always end the turn in your town, and the town should have some mage guild to recover your mana. And if sometimes you need to take a town that is more distant, or you need to travel any distance, you need to quote unquote sleep not in the town, you should always get some mana for the second turn, because as I was saying, you need to cast Dimension Door. With Expert Air you can cast Dimension Door twice, and you should do it every turn, because if you not do it, then you're wasting your potential, your movement potential. You're slower than your opponent and you get behind. So in the meantime, when my opponent is still playing his turn and I'm waiting, this is not the time for alt tabbing in the windows and checking your favorite porn sites. This is time for planning your next turn. So you should always check which Pandora boxes you need, which can you skip. You should plan your turn at least in your head, so you know when it's your turn what to do, and hopefully you can do it faster. So this was a good box, another plus 40 elves, and suddenly this is what 90 elves with force field can break, definitely can break. Basically I think it can maybe kill an Utopia. If you have force field, you have like 100 mana, and if you not get lucky, not get unlucky, like if it goes well, that means the dragons don't attack the elves, just block them, then you can go to the corner and cast force field and just shoot them all. But I'm not going to do this, and this is quite risky and hard to prepare, and I think the duel is so fast that it's just easier to kill the Utopias with all you have. Maybe leave the elves at home, so you have your ranged power stack intact. I think with this army playing against basically any other race, I would already go break. I think break this day 1 to 6 was realistic. This is not these are not the boxes I essentially needed for break. It's very nice to get an additional 25 Grand Elves, but it is not necessary for breaking out. But as I was saying, I'm not rushing the mid, because I know I'm going to get there first anyway. I don't think Stygian would break like before 1 3 4, I would say. He has to get all the Wyvern dwellings and so on. So I think this turn turned out very good, excellent even. I got additional 2 boxes of elves, and now it's 150. So in any case, this was worth it. Now it is 1 to 7, and with 150 elves, full mana, it's definitely breaking time. I'm still considering whether I should stick around for one more day and take the library. Each biome has exactly 1 library, It's very important to get your skills up because the artifacts, everyone gets all the artifacts. This is not even debatable. If the game doesn't end suddenly, unexpectedly, if you plan your turns, if you watch your opponent via view air, you should always avoid your opponent if you're weaker and get all the necessary artifacts, get your stats up. But if both players has the artifacts, then it is about who visited more buildings like libraries. Library is the best building to visit because it adds +2 to each primary skill, which is basically like the relic artifacts, the boots of something, the boots of, I don't know, boots of walking in the shit that allows you to walk in shit and adds +2 to all your primary skills. I'm looking at the champions at the bottom of the screen. They are guarding the +2/+2 artifact and +5 Ogre Shield. The Ogre Shield is a part of Ogre Iron Fist, which is a very interesting artifact that is frequently, I would say, frequently used in this template. When the armies gets bigger, the Ogre Fist is basically better than getting the Swords of Judgment, Lion Shield, and so on. But we're not there yet. But I'm still taking it. This is maybe a little bit of a mistake. It's a time that is very valuable, and I don't. Looking at this game, I don't think I should have done that because there are so many artifacts in the treasure midsection that I would get those artifacts anyway, I think. And just spending turn to get those artifacts is not necessary. It didn't slow me that much because as you can see, I was going for the library anyway. Unskipped diplomacy there was also a mistake, I would say. You never know how long the game would take, and especially with playing against Fortress. Fortress has no problem to go in late game, and fighting Fortress in late game without diplomacy, that is possible only with steady mid-section control. If I control the midsection, the tower, and if I'm never forced to give it up, then yeah, I could skip the diplomacy and just spend my resources building titans, of course. But that's a very maybe overly confident play. I think looking at this game, it would be better if I didn't skip the diplomacy. I should have just taken it. And it's 1-3-1, and I bought a little bit of army. Not sure if it was the best to town portal to the fortress to the corner just for one box, but it costs me additional time and it's getting a little bit late. I think Rampart should always break 1-3-1 at latest. It's a very tempo based faction. It could usually break even before the third week, but breaking 1-3-1, it's a great result. It's always a great result and it shows a good play. I didn't break 1-3-1, so this is already garbage. No, I'm just kidding. As I was saying, I just wanted to get all the available Grand Elves, maybe even the Battle Dwarves, but the Grand Elves, I just somehow thought they would save me in this game, so we will see if that's the case. I didn't need to sleep in my town because there is always there is a magic well, so I can replenish my mana here. The question is whether it's better for movement, because if I slept in the town, I could get faster by having only Silver Pegasi. So basically, I saved like 250 moves, and I will be 300 short because I didn't sleep in the town with only Pegas. So maybe it's a little bit of a mistake. Going into break blindly, that means I just walked down the road without knowing what monster is there, is also a little bit risky. In this game, on this map, I discovered few good breaks, and it can always happen that this break could be like Titans or even Cyclopes, Power Liches. Though those would be very difficult for me to beat because my main power comes from shooting down the slower units. To fight ranged units would be very hard. So behemoths are of course okay, even that there were 12 ancient behemoths. I still have defeated them without any significant losses. So I'm able to continue down the road. I still have one dimension door available. I can use the little trick. Dimension door on expert takes 200 moving points. On basic, it takes 300. But the exception is if you end your turn. If you have only 100 move points left, you can still dimension door. Even though the dimension door should take 200 or 3, you can dimension door on your last 100. This trick you cannot do with Town Portal. This cannot be done, but with Dimension Door it can. So it's 133, and I just took my first town in the mid section, in the mid treasure zone. Not very good tempo-wise. The army is decent, I would say. Not the best though. I've seen better. I've seen better armies. Just from the biome, I mean. But we'll see. We'll see. This is just a strategy I planned out. Playing Stygian on Fortress with using Fortress because I think Fortress is. I'm quite sure that Fortress is his best, or at least his favorite race, and Stygian is very good dual player, attending in many tournaments, placing well, playing good players like Lexiaf and so on. Maybe having even a decent score against those kind of players. So we will see. Right now, the simultaneous turns are over, so I have more time to plan my turns when I'm not playing. That means when I'm not on my turn. I could check the tavern as I did. He has decent stats, and he still hasn't got the town in the midsection. That means he's still in the biome, and he got quite a good artifacts in his utopia. Well, this is like, it can happen, but still, I would get to the middle first. This is a quite hard fight, I would say. Using shield would be okay. Losing some centers, well, would be also okay. So all this just for losing few centers and trees, not bad. Just for Book of Earth, not that important, honestly. Basically, the only important thing Book of Earth gives you is Meteor Shower, but as I was saying, the chainline thing is just better than Meteor Shower. So Cyclopes defending Sword of Judgment, very important artifact, basically the best artifact, or at least the artifact that gives you the most stats in this template. Of course, in Heroes of Might and Magic there is this helmet, we call it Teapot. The helmet gives you +6 to all the primary skills, but this artifact is banned not available on Duel. It's just because if you had it, you could assemble Angelic Alliance, and basically this would be so good that everyone would be doing it, and it would be quite, what to say, maybe one-sided, boring. Like everyone would get Angelic Alliance all the time. So the creator decided to ban the teapot, and the situation is much more interesting because you have to decide whether to use your artifacts that gives you the most of primary skills, or whether you assemble the Iron Fist. So this is, I think, very interesting dynamic in the Duel template. So the day is over. I didn't get to midsection yet, and it kinda screws with my plan because I didn't have enough mana to just wander around the treasure zone and pick up things. And pick up the prostitutes. Don't have enough mana for that. But the Sword of Judgment was just too tempting to skip, so I had to take it, and next turn I will have mana only for one dimension door. So I would have to just get straight to the mid-town, and with one dimension door, hopefully I can reach it. It's not. It can backfire, I think, because I have trees, and that slows me. Those slows me a little bit. Slow me down. Trees are slow. Usually trees doesn't move at all. Trees, at least in my garden, when I look outside, I see the trees and they're freakingly not moving at all. But in this game, they move a little bit. So this will get interesting. In ideal scenario, I would get to the mid-town and replenish mana. If I don't get the mid-town, then I would just lose day doing nothing, because the next day I would have no mana and I will be forced to just, stay near the town without being able to use any traveling spells. Of course, there was the option to just town portal to my main town, to the starting point, get mana, and travel to the midsection all over again. But this would be that would slow me down too much. The game plan is to get to the midsection first and hold it with a decent army from my biome. This was the game plan, and I wanted to stick to it. And as you can see, I barely am able to do this. I couldn't take the ogre. Ogre, what was that? The stick of ogre. Didn't need it anyway. It is just the part of the Iron Fist for the future, but we're not there yet, so I wouldn't use it anyway. So I get to the middle first. My opponent broke out just 135 maybe this day. Not sure if he broke out yet. If I get both of the town in the treasury and I look the tavern, it's naturally says that I have more towns, but I'm not able to say just looking at it if my opponent has one town in the middle or none. So from this point on, I should always use view air, and I'm not sure whether I have it or not. It's a very essential spell, and I've already lost 1 or 2 games just not having the view air. I remember having like 4 mage guilds in my biome, and none of them contained view air, and I think I wasn't able to just roll the spell, or maybe I did it once and didn't roll view air. Then I didn't have the resources because it takes 2 of each resource to roll the spell. And I just didn't know my opponent was already like rushing me and killed me. I was very sad about it, and I cried a little bit, but don't tell it to anyone, please. Just my mother knows it. She came down to my room, and she thought she thinks I was masturbating again, but I wasn't. I was just playing heroes and crying. So she's like usual, and yes, this is like every day. Okay, so I'm fighting few Haspids, very strong creatures. They have exactly the annoying amount of speed where they reach. Oh, Jesus Christ, I hate these fucking ghost dragons. All in one stack and just biting my elves, pissing in their nice faces. I'm so sad when this happens, and but this could be prevented. This could be definitely prevented, and I'm going to tell you how. You have to put decently weak creatures next to your Grand Elves. And I have 74 Battle Dwarfs there, which those are not the weak units I should have there. I should have placed the 16 Gremlins or maybe the 5 Centaurs next to my Grand Elves. And I think there would be a decent chance that the Ghost Dragons would be happy with just blocking the Elves um, and biting the units I didn't need. So this was a mistake. This was definitely a mistake, and it costed me 17 Grand Elves. In the level up, I get to choose between armor and archery. Maybe I should have taken archery, I think, because Grand Elves are my power stack, and if the game gets very late, I'm going to have Titans. So I think I definitely should have taken archery. I was just afraid that Stygian would push me soon, and he would chain down my Grand Elves anyway. So the armorer would get me some, I would say, more resilience, fighting a longer fight and using all of my available mana. Because I think I would have more mana than him, and if it comes down to just summoning air elementals, it could be deciding moment to have more mana and maybe having the armorer. Not sure. It's a long shot to say, at least, because the air elementals are usually chained down, because chain and lightning bolt does twice the amount of damage to them. So you don't usually see units straight up fighting air elementals. But it is what it is. I just picked armorer, and I think it was a mistake. It would be better to pick archery. But it was a good day overall. I planned it carefully, and in one day I picked, I would say, two of the best items, the items I very much needed. It's the necklace, blanket necklace, and the lion shield. My stats are very good, and I also got decent box of Naga Queens. So we'll see what the next day we will do. I don't see any like powerful box near the mid section. If there is like a heavily guarded box, it should get me giants or titans, and maybe the Ifrit Sultan box. Not sure. Kingdom army strength. You can trust this. Maybe Stygian is just sleeping in his town and having only the fastest units on his hero, and if all the fighting units are in the town, as I'm doing it to get speed, the tavern info is not correct. So you cannot trust this. So I'm going to fight the Utopia at my biome. I left the Grand Elves home, obviously. I mean, not home, but in the town, in the tower. I don't want to lose them to dragons. Yeah, it's an okay decision, I would say, because I didn't see any great artifacts or boxes in the middle. So just going for Utopia, if it's close. I don't spend so much time doing it. Hopefully, I have to just fight it a little bit more quicker than that. This is taking quite a lot of time. Maybe now it's the time for quick battle it, quick fight. But I still have 3 minutes, so I guess it's okay. So just killing this Utopia, not bad. Lion Shield again. It gave me the ring that is needed for elixir, so not so bad. This actually, it comes handy. I needed the gold from Utopia to start building the tower, but I also need the resources. I'd like to get Cornucopian and a vial of blood to get the elixir. Okay, Master Gremlin is not bad. There is a book of air. Not sure if I have the. Oh, I think I forgot to cast fly. When you remove in the midsection in the treasury, you always have to cast fly first, because if you don't, you get massive penalty. And I think no, well, I definitely didn't. I forgot to use it this day, and this is horrible. I lost so many moving points by just doing it. It's 150% penalty, so I would get like, well, definitely lost a few moving points. But the good thing is, I finally have the spells. I have Book of Air, Book of Earth. This is okay. I need the Orb of Air, and I need a Vial of Blood. And then just if I get a Cornucopian, it would be nice for a later game. Library would be very nice. But in the south section of the map, there is already my opponent. Didn't see him yet. There are a few dwellings for giants and nagas, but they would take too much time to get them right now. So I maybe just push west. It is very likely, well, it is standard that the player who doesn't get the midtown first has to get all the side town in the mid treasury. Like the mid treasure zone has 5 towns. Each corner has a town, and there is a 5th town in the middle. So the player who does not get the town in the middle has to at least get the town that is closest to his biome. So my opponent already has the town that is in the south, and he has to get the town that is on the west. And if I get there first, and at the same time, if I'm at least strong enough for him to not want to fight me yet, then I would take some territory from him. He won't be able to get there, at least not now. So I think it's not a bad decision to just push to the west now, while I have all the spells and decent stats. He has also the stats, but he just started to farm the midsection, so maybe he just doesn't have all the necessary things he needs, and maybe he wouldn't want to fight me yet. So there is Oasis, very good building. There is one Oasis in the mid treasury, and it gives you plus 800 moves. So you can usually farm the nearby fights and just get the points few times in a row. And of course, there was the vial of blood. There are two of them even. So I already have the elixir. Got the elixir. 137. First combined artifact. Very good timing. So this is okay. Elixir will help me a lot, I would say, especially with a decent elf power stack, and elves are very vulnerable to casting, to chain. And with elixir, they would stay alive a little bit longer, and still they will still give me at least one turn for decent shot. I mean, if the battle starts, and even if he gets speed priority, which he should get because he has dragonflies with 13 speed, then obviously he would start the fight chaining elves. And with elixir, many of the elves would survive. So looking at the stats, the fighting stats basically are he has better, and of course he's guaranteed to get the armorer. I also have armorer. Maybe he has also offense. I don't have offense. But the spells are I still have better casting than him. And there is Orb of Air. This is basically the most needed artifact right now for me. But I don't see any good boxes, honestly. Obviously, I'm not sure whether I checked all the places. I should have clicked the guards for the boxes and just, as I was saying, if some box is heavily guarded, then it contains a better army. So I'm not sure whether I checked all of them or not. But there is just nothing that would stand out in the things I'm seeing. Basic offense. That is actually quite good, basic offense, but I skipped it, and I'm not sure why. Maybe I'm still waiting for the possibility of getting the diplomacy, maybe. Oh, and it's archery or archery or leadership, and damn it, I should have taken the offense. And right now I would have advanced offense. Damn. And I skipped the archery. Well, as I expect him to chain my elves, and he's already in the reach of my midtown, so I expect him to attack. So no, basic archery wouldn't help me. It's only plus 10%, so archery is good after reaching expert because it's plus 50%. But offense is quite different. It's 10, 12, 10, 20, and 30%. So even basic offense does make a little bit of difference. Well, and leadership, I took leadership. Well, it's like the Hail Mary play. It's like all the things you can plan in a fight. You see the damage, you see how many units are there, but you cannot plan when units get morale or not. And just having morales on your power stack, like elves, can decide the fight. Basically, yeah, it can decide the fight. It can make a bigger difference than just having plus 10%. So he did attack, and this will get interesting. I see the fighting stats are quite similar. I guess he had the armor plus 4 attack and defense before, so he had higher, but he switched it for Titans, which is plus 10 spell power, and I think this is the only artifact I did miss. So look at that. He broke out quite late, I would say like 136, and he still got better artifacts than me. I'm not sure whether I played bad, or maybe I should have break out even earlier because this is This is kind of weird. Well, he didn't get the Orb of Air, so even though I have less spell power, my chain still did bigger damage, and the elixir is great because there are still 122 elves, so this is looking good. But the one Master Genie from him casted protection from air. This is like, oh my god, could you cast anything else like this? Like this. My Master Genies costed heal. Uh, I don't know, like from any available spells, he gets basically the best spell because I cannot chain the lizards, and they are very dangerous. If he has golden bow, it's like GG. If he has golden bow and archery, and he will shoot me like from, I don't know, 500, this would hurt too much. So he gets protection and I get jack shit. It's okay. And now, oh, this damage wasn't so high. So definitely no golden bow. Double penalty, for one penalty for the distance, second penalty for the castle, obviously the barrier, shooting across the barrier. So he did only quarter of damage. That was okay. That was okay. So I can ignore the lizards from now. This is okay. The most dangerous attacks was obviously the wyverns, obviously. But he has a decent Gorgon stack, and this is quite dangerous too, because 35 Gorgons, Mighty Gorgons, aye. So what will be his play? I guess he has to just rush me because I have 200 mana points more than him. So even though the casting was almost similar, he cannot just stay and cast. He has to go. Hopefully he doesn't have sacrifice, because this would be very painful if he just sacrificed the flies and later the lizards for reviving the wyverns. That would hurt a lot. Hopefully he didn't get all the artifacts in his biome. He got great stats from his biome Utopia, and then he had even few good artifacts on the way up, and he basically has just one town in the treasury, and he still got basically almost everything he needed. He misses the Orb of Air, and next turn begins another chain to my elves, and even block them with the flies, and this is not so good for me, because basically I don't have any power stack, and he still has all the Gorgons. Even the 100 flies are kind of annoying, so I guess it is time for summoning the air. I cannot cast the chain, cannot cast them on lizard, that would do nothing. I cannot cast them between my own units. Meteor shower is too weak, so the only reasonable choice is to summon air, because at least it forced the wyverns to go out. So I prevented him for doing some damage to me. If he stayed with the wyverns, I would just attack them. So instead of this, I'm going to attack the flies, but the damage is not exactly overwhelming. What was that? Not sure what that was. Protecting the mages in the corner is like, well, we're waiting to die here a little bit. We're just waiting to not get eaten by the chain and the units. Of course, I could maybe cast protection from air, but there was like, if I didn't summon the elementals, what would be the point? Just to protect few units from air. The good thing is my casting is a little bit stronger, so if the casting is equal, then the chain usually kills all the air elementals. But I have a little bit better casting because of the Orb of Air. So every time I cast, I summon air, he shouldn't be able to immediately kill them. There should be always few air elementals to survive. And right now the air elementals are dead because they get chained, but it's because they got beaten from the flies before. And right now, like if I cast summon air again, I would get chained again next turn. But he also chained his own flies, and this was questionable. I think he shouldn't chain his own flies, because 20 flies are not dangerous. They were way higher. And I chained his gorgons, and there are two reasons why I did it. First reason is I was afraid of the gorgons just getting in, obviously. I'm not sure whether he has expired water and he could teleport, or just the ballista could have a lucky shot and he would just eat one mine and get inside, and 35 gorgons minus 2 for mine, I would say. The mine takes 150, and this would be like too dangerous. I'm not sure if I would be able to just summon the elementals just to defend against that many gorgons. So I definitely needed to kill the gorgons, and also I knew that the second wave of chain would finally kill all the wyverns. So the wyverns are dead. There were also dangerous 11 wyverns were still a threat. And now there is a question: does he have sacrifice or not? The flies are basically dead because he's on chain, so he couldn't sacrifice the flies. He can 63 mana, so he chained again. I didn't like it that much, the chain again. I didn't like it that much. So basically I think he doesn't have sacrifice, because if he had sacrificed, he would like slow it down a little bit, waited for me to kill a few of his lizards, because 200 are just a little bit too much. It's overkill, and then he would sacrifice them and revive all the wyverns. But he didn't do it, so I think he doesn't have sacrifice. And my cast was also not so good. I think I definitely should have summoned air, definitely, because there was a risk. What I was thinking, I was like, okay, my chain won't do much damage, obviously, because of the protection from air, but I would finally kill all the flies and regain speed priority. And since I have speed priority, I'm considering it as a free cast. I have a bonus cast right now because I always start the turn, and I won't run out of mana. He will run out of mana sooner. So it's like casting for free, maybe. So this is why I decided to cast chain, but it was questionable. I think if I summoned air, it would be a little bit safer. If I just summoned air every turn and defend with every unit, I think there was no way for him to win. Maybe if he just, because he cannot cast 2 chains. He has mana only for 1 chain. Don't forget that Pegasi will make his casting 2 mana more expensive. So right now he has 90 mana. He cannot cast another chain, and 1 air elemental survive. But honestly, even if it didn't, he would get speed priority now, and he would maybe try to lightning bolt my dwarfs, and if they didn't resist, he would maybe win. I'm not sure if he was able to just kill all the dwarfs using chain and shoot from the lizards, but I guess he would kill them. How many are they? Yeah, he could win. But as it is, he didn't. So this is a very close fight, and I think there were a few mistakes from both of us, especially the questionable chain cast from me. I think even protection from air would be better because he already lost the Gorgons. So just the lizards were no threat to me, and if I protected air, the rest of units, at least the dwarves would be guaranteed to survive. And then I would summon air every turn, and I think, not sure. I would have to test it. Not sure. Maybe if the flies were still alive, they could dispel. This is something that is very annoying if you don't have the orb against dispel. How do you call it? The fucking ball of dirt or something. So let's check out a few of the saves. 1-1. He ended in his town on only having 3 towns. This is not so much. A little bit slower start at his side, I think. 1-7. This was the time I could break out. Oh, and I can see him. He didn't get Earth. This is unfortunate. Beastmasters have a almost 50% chance to getting Earth, so him not getting Earth is quite unfortunate. On the other hand, if you play fighting hero, like Beastmaster is fighting hero, or Barbarian, or Knight, or I don't know, you usually cannot depend only on getting all the magic you need. You usually have to buy the School of Magic. It's very rarely that you get air and earth just by chance. So it's not uncommon for Fortress to have to build the School of Magic. It's not uncommon. Usually you get the earth, that there's, as I was saying, almost 50% chance of getting earth in your first 4 levels. But getting air is a problem. Of course, it's a little bit easier to play when you have earth first and get air later, because you still you have a little bit of mana issues, so you are okay with casting Dimension Door only once a day. But without playing earth, it's a little bit harder, so I can see why he broke out later, a little bit later. But still, he had a great Utopia, and oh, he has the Dispel immunity. He has, wow, he has all the books, but only Advanced Water, so he couldn't Mass Prayer, he couldn't TP the Gorgons, but he could sacrifice. Wow, look at that. He could sacrifice, and it's funny that he has the Orb of Earth, but Earth is the only book he doesn't have. But why didn't he sacrifice and revive the Wyverns? That's a little bit strange to me. Well, there was definitely a way for him to win the fight, which is weird because if you look at the minimap, he just didn't scout that much. He didn't have that much time. He was way slower than me, and he was still able to win. So, I mean, the map was kinda okay for him. So, thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.